we go. Okay. Oh, holy pious one.
I chasida kadisha b'shata da asman parchen.
When the letters fly,
Chame bar nosh ba'asman rabravan.
a person sees written in big letters, great letters.
Ksiv ba'avira lofum shata bereshis bara elokim es hashamayim es haaretz.
So the person sees written in the air momentarily the verse in the beginning, Bereshis, or with beginning, or in beginning, God created heaven and earth.
V'haaretz ha'isasov v'avo mehacha ahadri asman rabravan kimilakadmin batshe asman ze'ira b'hun uparchen.
And then the next verse about the haaretz and the earth was tohu vavo had a emptiness in it and a question of what was in it and darkness. That was this a small letter version that interacted or struck the earlier verse of Genesis, of Bereshis. Letters would strike them and they fly.
Ischaze minayu ksiv. Vayomer elokim yehi or.
And then there's a verse that says, and God said, let there be a firmament, etc. And so all the acts of creation, great marvels, go on.
Labasar, I'm not sure I think I have the text is probably a little off. Labasar mahadre asman ze'iron ubache basman rabavan umischazi minayu d'chsiv vayomer elokim yehi rakia v'chein kol avoda de verashis pelion rabavan v'cheidu la'aynan avadon da asman ilayin zaka amad kol do mechakon.
Okay, it's the same idea. Small letters would turn and strike them, and that is seen written, that verse that we just said, and so all the acts of creation, great marvels and delight in the eyes, the act of these letters, happy are the people who await all of this. The point is two points. One, the point that I made earlier, which is that the Zohar, if we had to find one word to encapsulate Zohar over Talmud, would be seeing over hearing. And this paragraph illustrates that what the Talmud refers to as the 10 utterances become the 10 visions. And you could actually see the letters written in the sky for a moment. And then you could also see that's one difference between, let's say, just classic Talmudic concept versus Zohar. The second thing is you have this, we mentioned last week, this kind of dialectic within the letters. The letters are each verse has a discussion, dialogue, argument, even with the verse that comes after it. So because and that's also essential to what the Zohar is. So really, in this one little paragraph, which is all of the Torah are the names of God, and all of the names of God are having a conversation with each other, or in this case, even an argument. And from that argument is our lives, is what we call home. Okay, so let's continue.
Okay, so
there's a little mini paragraph that we're going to skip because we did it last week, so we don't have to repeat it. Instead, we'll turn to page 86, because some Zohars don't have this here. Turn to page 86 in the Danny Matt edition. What are we, volume 9?
Yeah.
Come and see. Again, that's that frequent reference to seeing versus hearing. Come and see. When the heavens revolve in rotation, this is very beautiful. You're about to hear. We
Okay.
did it last week also, I believe.
When
When the heaven revolves in rotation, it renders a song. But because of the crashing or roaring sounds of the pouring or gushing water, the melody is unknown. You can't really hear it. It's drowned out. I just believe that that I think that in ancient times there were 7. I think they considered it 7 sciences. Does anyone know if I'm correct? And one of the sciences was mathematics, and another science was
Trivium and the quadrivium. 3 and 4, and I don't remember what they all were. That's
Yeah.
that's what
one
the
of them was
classic.
music.
Yeah, music, right. And this is making me think about music of the spheres, which was related to music and order in the universe and mathematics were brought
Correct.
together in that phrase, and a lot of was written about it. And I don't know where that originated, if we got it first or if we.
Yeah, but
later.
it's very pretty much the same. This, it seems like the sphere. It's talking about the spheres here. It's talking about the rotation of heaven, right? They had a very kind of like this concept of heaven being spherical things that were like existed, but were yet translucent, so you could see through them. I'm not an expert in exactly what the ancient people understood these spheres to be, but they did believe that there was somehow there was like a musical element to them. So the Zohar is pretty much shares that view. Okay. And all these basins on the 4 sides are filled with the flow of gushing water. Okay, why don't we read note 95?
95. When that heaven, above the Garden of Eden or the temple. On the relation between these 2 realms, see above note 72. According to ancient philosophy, the heavenly spheres generate harmonious music as they move. And he references some Neoplatonic stuff and also elsewhere in the Zohar.
Okay, let's go on. Whoever is within exists there in 2 aspects. One is joy, happiness, which is unlike or unmatched by any other joy in the world. To fulfill the verse, serve the Lord with joy. And the other element or aspect is awe, fear, like it says, serve God out of awe. One bubbling spring or water bubbling is from the east side. This one is mentioned by the prophet Ezekiel. Concerning the spring, all the inhabitants of the world cannot complete its praise, meaning you can't say enough about it. in the place where it is born on the east side, its depth and height is no more than a span. Okay, we did this already last week, I think. Go ahead, read the note. You know what? Let's just keep going because I think we did this.
Kadnaven Maya Vesalkin Salkin Kol Zine Margalon da Alma Velo Naflin Lavara.
When the waters flow and rise, all kinds of gems rise.
Velo Naflin Lavar Hashta is Chazan Begavin Chad.
In one, they appear in one color.
Lefum Shata Naflin Elaine Bahasalkin Acharanin
For the
Kagavin
moment, or momentarily, then they fall. And look, others rise in another color, all kinds of color. Go on.
Bechol Zine Gavin da Alma Nafle Inon Margalon Lo Nafle Lavar.
So in all these kinds of colors in the world, those gems fall, but do not fall outside. Okay, we get to page 87.
Sacharanin da Hunaviu Chazer Vashushan Sacharin.
Surrounding the flow are calyx and blossom.
Velo Yachlin Kol Bnei Alma Lamekam Al Inon Gavnin Kulu
And no one
Shal
can get or comprehend these colors.
Kulu Shal Hovin Melahatan Velo Yachlin Leistakla Bahu.
All flashing flames and impossible to gaze upon, to look at.
Lo Yudia Chashivu da Ovada Tarpin Delhon Menatson Bekama Gavnin.
The significance of the fashioning is unknown. Their leaves sparkle in many colors.
Is this sort of suggesting that both in the exact opposite thing, which is depicted as water and fire, all of the colors of, of exist, whatever that means, I don't know, all colors are in water and all colors are in fire? Not that I don't know.
I don't know all colors, but many, it's impossible to.
Like in the first one, it says Kol Zine Gavnin da Alma in the water thing. And then it's like, I don't know if it says, I don't know. I thought it's suggesting the same colors are Kulu Shalhoven Melahatan. And sort of like.
I mean, it's interesting. Sometimes it mentions the specific four colors and, I don't know how colors work with the spectrum of all colors are contained in the basic colors. But here, I mean, again, going with this theme of the visual, I'll just tell you like a little thing that happened to me this past Shabbos is I was walking to Shul on Riverside Drive, and there's just maybe on like 81st Street, there's a patch of the of yellow leaves on the ground. And as I was walking, it was raining these little yellow orange leaves from the tree. It felt like snow. And at the moment that I passed through, it actually visually took me outside of my, it was like, they were somehow, they were almost sparkling, and it was almost like it was almost as if I was transported into some other place. And it was a visual thing, and it just happened. It's not like, I mean, I love watching the leaves and, taking a road trip this time of year, but walking through Central Park and seeing the colors. But this is something else. There's something about being in this kind of visual, you're in it, you're immersed in it, and something happens. So the Zohar is describing that a million times more, where the colors basically take on something that happens that's indescribable. As it starts by these spiritual visuals, the gems and colors, but you can't even begin to explain it. So that's my answer, Ben. We have no idea. Sorry.
Rabbi, can I make two?
I understood that.
Can I make two observations?
Yes, David.
One is that our minds really are attuned to the colors of the midot, or the colors is what we know as the rainbow. So, you know, the three primary colors being red, blue, and yellow, right? But the question is, and I didn't hear this from a Jewish source, is are there primary colors beyond what our mind is able to see? And so I think that's what this is pointing towards, that, you know, there are colors that we can't even imagine that are out there. And can't remember my other point, but that was...
That's good.
Sorry, the other point was this. I know a man who's a cantor, and he sees, when he sings, his music somehow in his mind turns into colors. And this guy isn't mystical at all, but this is not a totally rare phenomena amongst very musical people.
It's called synesthesia.
Synesthesia, yeah, right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Scriabin had it, the composer.
Yeah.
A few people have it, but it's pretty rare.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard
It can also be an experience that's drug induced.
Right. Yeah.
You see people even who are not musical geniuses like writing about having seen that.
Well, the Jewish people too. They saw thunder and they heard
Yeah, that's
like
yeah.
They were all on mushrooms.
Yeah. Okay.
Oved Siur, Umanu Damari Alma.
Did you do the thing about they cover 375? The design and artistry of the master of the universe. They cover, go ahead.
Oved Siur, Umanu Damari Alma, Chafyon al Talas Ma'av, Veshivin Vechamisha Kruvin Disachosaihu.
They cover 375 kruvim below them.
Basar Savachin Acharonan Lago.
After other additional lattice work inside.
Be'inon Savachin Sachar de Azar Lago.
And all those lattices are all around the courtyard inside.
Ela Minhon Inon Gufnan Prisan.
Above are those spreading grapevines.
Techos Gufnan Inon Keruvin Kulu Gatvan Parishan.
Below the vines, those cherubim, all their wings spread.
V'shulavan Elaine be'Elaine.
Interconnected or intertwined.
Hachar Amar Rav Mesivta. The commander is stakel be'inon Gufnan Menaharin Anpoi Knehiru Deshimsha.
Here, the head of the academy said that whoever gazes upon these grapevines, his face will shine like the radiance of the sun.
Inun Savachin Itchaman Sachar de Azara.
Those lattices ranged around the courtyard.
Kulu Merukman Bechutin de Nehiran Begavanan Sagian.
All are embroidered with filaments gleaming.
Melahatan be'arba mine Zahorin de Esha.
Listening with 4 kinds of fiery lights.
Shalhoven Salkin Ugavanan Menatzan.
The flames rise and the colors sparkle.
Ulazimnen Shalhoven Mishtakache Unahorin Ugavanan Salkin Ubitche Elaine be'Elaine.
Sometimes the flames subside and colors and light rise, hitting one another.
Shis Elef Agonan Lagabe Inun Savachin.
6,000 basins alongside those lattices.
Arba Gavnin La Arba Citron de Azara.
4 colors on the 4 sides of the Azara.
Elaine Inun Ravravin Unaviu de Mayan Chayan Mikol Citre.
These are large with a gush of living water on every side.
Ve'inun Nafle Be'inun Agonin.
tumbling into the basins.
Ubale ba'asrayo v'ilein mayin lo yade lo an ozlan.
Swallowing up right there. It's not known where these waters are flowing to. Okay, and this is all connected to, we'll read note 99 and 100 to things that are described in the Temple of Solomon. In the middle of the courtyard, go on.
Okay. I thought there was a note. Be'emtso da'azara yikumun kulu Yisrael. Yishazun kamimalka kadusha.
In the middle of the courtyard, all of Israel will stand and appear in the presence of the Holy King. Yeah, now we'll read, no, Zebul, please read notes 99 and 100.
99, the significance of the fashioning. The reference to the Sevachin, lattice work, mesh work, derives from description of Solomon's temple, which mentions Sevachim meshwork surrounding the capitals of the two columns in the temple. See 1 Kings 7:17, below it note 226 and elsewhere in Zohar and other places. Note 100, in the middle of the courtyard of the restored temple, see above note 94, which referred to all the males going to the temple for the pilgrimage.
Okay. Let's continue then. Thank you.
Bistar derom ba'azara da isilid chad mayona demaya.
On the south side of the courtyard, one spring of water is born.
Ve'israme de kayishtafun maya kolma.
And it seems that the waters will flood the whole world. That sounds
Mandi.
familiar, right?
Mandi yeel behu yahon ad berkayim.
Whoever enters them, the water, it gets up to the knee. They could become knee deep in the water.
Yeel behu gibar rav yeel behu ad berkayim.
If a mighty man enters into them, he will enter into up to his knee.
Itinok bar yoma ad berkayim.
If a 1-year-old baby goes into the water, it'll only reach his knee. So it's like, it's based on a measurement that isn't
Fixed.
yeah, it isn't fixed. It's based on the experience of the participant.
It's a dynamic knee level of water.
Yep.
Man deshase minayo yischakam v'yispekach b'chochmasa.
Whoever drinks them will become wise, enlightened from wisdom. Okay, note 101, Zev.
On the south side of this courtyard, the image of waters that are knee deep derives from Ezekiel's vision of the restored temple in Jerusalem. The Ezekiel 42, 2-5, and the following verse quoted above. He led me out by way of the northern gate and led me around the outside of the outer gate facing east, and look, the waters were gushing from under the south wall. As the man went on eastward with a measuring line in his hand, he measured off 1,000 cubits and led me across the waters that were ankle deep. Then he measured off another 1,000 and led me across waters that were knee deep. He measured off another 1,000 and led me across waters that were up to the waist. He measured off another 1,000, a stream that I could not swim across, for the waters had swollen into swimming waters, a stream that could not be crossed.
Wow, cool.
Can I say, Rabbi, can I just add something that, you know, the Ramhal Moshe Chaim Luzzatto wrote this book about the Third Temple that was found in the Bodleian Library in 1956.
Mhm.
And it's called Mishkanei Elyon, right? And the term Mishkanei Elyon is found in Psalm 46, verse 5, which is Nachar Palgav Yismuhu Ir Elohim Kodesh Mishkanei Elyon, and which is one of the verses that begins and ends with a nun, and that talks specifically about the water that will. I think one of the Haftorah one of the Haftorahs talks about how the river will go to the one river will go towards the Dead Sea and one will go towards the Mediterranean.
Mhm. Cool. Okay, so that fits right right into the Zohar then. And actually, even more, we'll hopefully end today's session with something specifically quoting that same verse that David is referring to. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue then on top page 88.
Mayana da nafik mi go margala chada ze'era bekosala de darom.
This spring issues from a small gem in the southern wall.
Inun mayan bale go asra umitaman yifkun labar min magdasha.
Those waters are swallowed up in their place, and from there they flow out of the temple
Ad yalo lanachal Shittim.
until they enter the wadi of Shittim,
Yishtufun hahuzima.
or the valley, and they will wash away that depravity generated by the waters of Shittim.
The olden mayan the Shittim. Va'aldom mayan elain ba'azara.
Therefore, these waters are in the courtyard,
Begin inun de ischazun taman de churin.
for the sake of those who appeared there,
Havoshasan min maya lo chayshe benukve.
the males. Once they drank from the water, they were not aroused towards the females,
B'meisayon l'schazah kami malka kadisha.
as they came to appear before the holy king.
2, the yispachon laminda milin steamin the malka ilah.
Furthermore, they will be stimulated to discover concealed matters of the supernal king.
Go magdasha da kol hirhurin yishtachon bar hirhura the chedva the malka kadisha.
Within this temple, all thoughts will be forgotten except for joyous thoughts of the holy king.
Is this sort of suggesting like Adam and Eve before the sin? Like it's like the men don't have any evil inclination, yet they have all these, ability to know, but not to know the deepest of secrets, but not know the most basic of evil, catalytic things that cause evil inclination. Or if have I drunk the Kool-Aid or the water in this case?
Well, yeah, I don't know about the pre Eitz Hadas, because a lot of people understand the Eitz Hadas as being tasting pleasure that is not that has guile in it, that has the possibility to separate to objectify the person, to sexualize the person to the point where you're not seeing the soul in them, you're seeing like an object. So maybe that's what we're trying to go back to here. But there's a lot of wordplay here. There's a lot of, like, we know that Shittim was where the Israelite men fell to the Midianite women. He probably talks about that in the notes. I didn't have time to look at this today. It's just I was in the office and I forgot to bring my Zohar to the office, and then I had a couple of meetings on the east side today, so I wasn't able to really look at the notes, but I did just look at the Zohar on Sefaria, which is, if you're ever stuck anywhere, you can always pull out your phone and look at Sefaria. It has so much stuff on it. So I did look at it in Sefaria, but the basic concept here is that you've got this place, and in the Zohar, similar to Ishbitz, there's energetic almost overwhelming impact on a person based on the place that they're in. And if the place is connected to a certain bad thing, so then it'll have that effect on the person. So the antidote to the waters of Shittim, because there's what I think they were the bitter waters, or the waters of desire, the waters that led us astray, is to find this, for lack of a better term, sounds like another religion, holy water. And they counteract the water, the evil water, so to speak, the evil desire of Shittim. And when that happens, the person is transformed. It reminds me of a lot of the Quakers, I think they were, who made all those breakfast cereals. You know what they were doing that for? All the cereals we eat here in America. Anyone know why?
Yeah, I do. It was Kellogg. He wanted to reduce sexual desire.
Exactly.
He believed that really bland food would make people like less interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think they were Seventh-day Adventists. They were
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
Adventists, not
What did I
Quakers.
say they were?
But yeah, they
Quakers.
Okay.
were against like sausages and
Hasidim,
meat
Misnagdim, what's the difference?
No, but the Seventh-day Adventists also celebrate the Sabbath on Saturdays.
Yeah.
That's why they're Seventh-day Adventists.
Uh-huh.
They noticed also in the Torah that it talks about dietary rules, and so they don't maybe had a different conclusion about why dietary rules, but at least they ran with it and said, okay, we should think a lot about what we're eating.
Okay, so we have this concept here in the Beit HaMikdash that somehow but don't think that just here's an interesting thing. Like a lot of people who are on like antidepressants, they complain that by taking the antidepressants, it might take away their creativity. Again, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just saying, like, you know, what's the word for anecdotal when people you meet tell you this. So it's purely anecdotal. I don't know if that's true or not, but the same thing could be said about anything that would take away sexual desire. You're playing with fire in the sense that what else is it diminishing in your creative life? And here the Zohar makes sure to say it's not really just removing that from you, but it's actually just reappropriating it for spiritual intimacy. So that's the second point of this little paragraph of the Zohar. Okay, do we want to read the note, the two notes, 102 and 103, Zev?
Yeah, 102, until they enter the Wadi of Shittim, the Wadi of Acacias, apparently the lower part of the Kidron Valley, extending through the Judean desert towards the Dead Sea. See Joel 4:18. On that day, the mountain shall drip with wine, the hills shall flow with milk, and the water courses of Judah shall flow with water. A spring shall issue from the house of Hashem and shall water the Wadi of Shittim. Here, based on midrashic sources, the water of Shittim is associated with the infamous place called Shittim, acacia trees, whose full name is Abel Shittim, Brook of the Acacias, northeast of the Dead Sea. This was Israel's last stop on their trek through the desert, where many Israelite men went whoring with the daughters of Moab and worshipped the heathen god Baal Peor. As a result, 24,000 Israelites died in a plague, aside from those who were slain by the Israelite officers. According to the Midrash, the Israelite men became lustful because they drank from the waters of the brook of Shittim. When the Messiah comes, the waters issuing from the temple will renew the Wadi of Shittim, washing away all traces of depravity.
Okay, great. 103, please.
103. Therefore, these waters are in the courtyard of the temple for the sake of those who come there on pilgrimage. See above note 94. The text seems to switch between describing what happened at the temple in the past and what happens in the Messianic era.
Are these the same, Rabbi, as the waters of Ruach HaKodesh and the ceremony that you do on Sukkot of drawing the water?
Yeah, it's a similar, separate but equal concept here. There's a concept of V'sha'afta mayim b'sason, imayne ha'yeshua, right? Drawing the water with great joy from the well springs of salvation, right? That whoever didn't witness the Simchat Beis HaShe'eva on Sukkot never saw simcha in their life. So again, that was also connected to this kind of water, this sweetening of the water, the tikkun of the water, the mitzvot associated, the mitzvot that were not anywhere explicit in the Torah, that were somehow, because of that, connected maybe to a link between Torah Shebechtav and Torah Shebal Peh. Okay, let's continue.
Anpa chad nafik goem tzauda humayana.
One branch emerged in the middle of that spring.
Amar Rav Mesivta kad karibna lahu anpa gomayana.
The head of the academy said, when I approached that branch within the spring,
Istalak anpa la'ela la'ela.
the branch went up higher and higher.
Kolmada karibna hachi istalak.
The closer I came to it, the higher it went.
Yesoda v'sharsha dahu anpa lav iu elabamaya.
The base and root of this branch is only in the water.
Hahu anpa chafe olman.
That branch covers the world.
Kol gavnin de alma be'inun tarfan zilei.
All colors of the world are in its leaves. Hey, this is a big advertisement for checking out the leaves.
Hmm.
All the colors of the world are in its leaves. I mean, wow.
Iba delay lo yedia mahu.
Its fruit is unknown and unknowable.
Lo yachlan laminda. V'amar de kashal l'mashiach alahu iba.
He said that he asked the Mashiach about that fruit.
V'amar iba da ganiz.
And Mashiach responded, this fruit is hidden away.
L'a'ish mishanto biyado mirov yomim. Man de zache laminda da linda.
For each one with his a staff in hand because of his great age. It's a verse in Zechariah. Right? For each one with a staff in his hand because of his great age. Whoever is worthy of knowing this will know. Go ahead, read note 104, Zev.
104. He said, namely the head of the academy. The branch is apparently from the tree of life, and so its fruit will provide immortality. Compared to the interpretation of the verse from Zechariah and Psachim, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, the righteous are destined to revive the dead, as it is said, there shall yet be old men and women in the squares of Jerusalem, each with staff in hand because of his great age. And it is written, place my staff on the lad's face in Kings, 2 Kings. This last verse was spoken by Elisha to his attendant Gehazi, instructing him how to revive the dead son of the Shunammite woman.
Okay. Great. Let's continue then.
Rakia chad is al hahu anpa paris la'ela.
There is one heaven over that branch spread above.
Me'ahu rakia azal tala al gabi mayona dav lo yatir.
And that heaven drops dew upon the spring and nothing more.
Kad istakal barnash lahu rakia mirachik dami tichla.
When a person looks at that heaven from afar, it looks like it's blue.
Karev yatir dame sumaka.
When he gets closer, it appears to be sumaka, red.
Karev yatir dame yarok.
As he gets even closer, it appears to be translated as green.
Karov yatir dame chivar.
When he
Las
gets
chivar
even closer,
ba'amakigine.
it's white. It looks like it's white.
The las chivar ba'amakigine.
Like no other white, unmatched by any other white in the world.
Tala de ka'azal mine ishtahiv bahu anpa.
The dew floating from it is absorbed in that branch.
The avid ibadav israve.
And making or generating this fruit which grows.
Ahu rakia ihu azal bil gilgula yatir imada ainin yachun listakala.
The heaven revolves quicker than any eye can see. Let's read Zev 105 and 106.
105. It appears blue, symbolizing Shechina. Red symbolizes Gvura, green Tiferes, and white Chesed.
Okay, now you
106.
guys know everything you need to know about colors.
Yeah.
Red is easy enough to know because red is like, I don't know, blood. And blood is not good, and neither is Gevurah, right? This is Ru'u ki ra'ah neged penechem. We're going to read in Exodus that Pharaoh's going to tell Moses, I see that there's bad facing you. The Medrash says that he saw Ma'azel Ma'adim, the constellation of Mars, which is blood, which is considered bad. Okay. So we have something against Gevurah.
It just occurred to me coming up in Toldos. There's the red that's traded for the birthright, and it's interesting because Yitzchak is Gvura, so it's almost like, and he's taking the color. Esav is taking the color red in exchange for a connection with Yitzchak. That it seems to match, like red for red, Gvura for Gvura.
Nice. Okay, good. Okay, 106.
106, the dew flowing. The dew feeds the spring, which waters the branch, generating the fruit of immortality. The association of dew with reviving the dead appears in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yehuda said, in the time to come, the Blessed Holy One will bring down a dew of revival, reviving the dead. As it is said, your dead will live. My corpses will arise, awake and shout for joy, O dwellers of the dust. For your dew is a dew of lights, and the earth will cast forth spirits of the dead. Rabbi Tacham said, from where does it descend? From the head of the Blessed Holy One. In the time to come, he will shake the hair of his head, and bring down a dew of revival, reviving the dead. As is said, I was asleep, but in my heart I was awake, for my head was filled with dew. From Shir HaShirim.
Wow. Okay. And all those who preserve the holy covenant must appear before the king. For surely they appear solely to demonstrate that they are members of the holy circumcision. This it is written, Kol Zchorcha, all your males, or he translates it as your maleness, shall appear. These are the members of the Holy Covenant.
Dayek Rav Mesivta Zohar v'lo Zacharcha.
The head of the academy made a diuk, meaning he analyzed how this Matt translates it. Precisely the word Zechurcha and not Zacharcha. For surely it is usually written Zachar and not Zachar, or Zachar without a vav, as opposed to the Zachar with a vav.
The Zachar ksivelo Zachur, my Zachurcha. El kol inun the natron kayama kadisha below chavan bay.
All those who preserve the holy covenant and don't sin in it or with it.
Inun havu b'nei malka the b'chol yoma mishtabach b'hu v'dacher lon tadir.
Are sons of the king, whose everyday glories in them.
V'alda Zachurcha hahud isbe kayama kadisha.
V'dacher, and remembers them constantly. So Zechurcha, your males, the one who possessed the holy covenant.
Remembered by
the king every day. For the only praise before the supernal king is for one who preserves the covenant. Okay, 107. So if you want to read the note.
All those who preserve the holy covenant, according to the verse in Exodus, 3 times a year, All Zechorcha, your males, literally your maleness or your male qualities, shall appear in the presence of the Lord Hashem. Here the Zohar indicates that Zechorcha, your maleness, refers to the phallus, specifically those who are members of the holy covenant of circumcision and who preserve that covenant by avoiding sexual sin, thereby maintaining sexual purity. The head of the academy explained why the verse employs the unusual term Zechorcha, your males or your maleness, instead of the normal hand Zarecha, your males. Zarecha, your males. This is because Zechorcha implies Zechor, remembering, or Zachor, remember, as in Exodus. Anyone who preserves sexual purity will be remembered and protected by God. On the verse in Exodus, see above, note 94.
Okay, we continue on page 90.
Valda boye di yischazen tlazimnin b'shata kame.
Therefore, they must appear 3 times a year in his presence.
Tlazimne amai.
Why 3 times?
Ela begin avohan kadmoi de kabilu lahybris.
Well, for the sake of the 3 patriarchs who first accepted the covenant.
Kadma lachol pikudin de araisa.
That's 3 times a year.
Uvigin kach tlazimnin inam b'shata. Avraham kabel bris, Yitzchak kabel bris, Yaakov have a shlim
Abraham
mikula.
accepted the circumcision of the covenant. Isaac accepted the circumcision. Jacob was most complete of them all.
Valdaksiv bevi Yaakov ishtam
Here it's
shlim
written,
mikula.
and Yaakov was Ishtam, a complete man, most complete. No 8. Go ahead, Zev.
Noah walked. No, I'm looking at the wrong
108.
108. Why 3 times? The 3 pilgrimage festivals correspond to the 3 patriarchs who first accepted the covenant of circumcision, as explained above, note 44, whereas Abraham completed only the first stage of circumcision, cutting and removing the foreskin. Jacob also underwent Priya, uncovering the corona, so he is described as Ishtam, a complete man. In Kabbalistic terms, Abraham symbolizes Chesed on the right, Isaac symbolizes Gvur on the left, and Jacob symbolizes a more complete realm with Tiferes, balancing right and left. On the specific spherotic correspondences of the various festivals, see Or Yakar and Elfor.
Rabbi,
Yes.
just a small observation. The vav that was in the Zechorah, generally when a vav is inserted, it either represents somehow the Mishnah, or as we read a few weeks ago, the 6th aliyah is the special aliyah, and somehow because the 6th of the midot, the 6th is Yesod, which represents the sexual organ, right? And I think even vav is used in another sense in Israeli slang. I think that somehow, it obviously ties into the righteous and the ability to maintain purity.
Yep. They're all lined up, these things. Yeah. Good.
Maybe the word of Zechorcha is like on the right side is like the word Zach, like pure. On the left side is like Rach, which is soft. And then the middle is like Kur, like the furnace that purifies even that which is pure, and that's like Jacob in the middle.
Wow.
Ben, you're competing with David.
I do not think that's actually, it's a race to the bottom on that basis.
I feel like David was like, that was nothing. Sorry for that. I don't know. Take it or leave it.
Interesting, Ben, one of the names of Mashiach is Hadrach, which means hard and soft.
Yeah.
Okay. So Avram was called Tamim.
Avraham Tamim Ikre v'lo hava kol kach shlim.
Yet he was
Wow.
not so complete.
Avol Tam shlim mikola.
But Tam, most complete of all. What is
Maksiv
written of Noach?
ben Noach ish tzadik tamim haya b'doroso.
Well, now he was a righteous man. He was Tamim, wholehearted in his generation.
Hava rishim b'rishimu kadisha beinayu.
For he was inscribed by the holy insignia among them.
Ba'amar Rav Mesivta b'chol asar d'chsiv tamim d'rashim b'rishimu kadisha.
The head of the academy said, wherever it is written Tamim, this implies that he is inscribed with the holy insignia, with the sign of the covenant.
Ba'os kayama debris. Begin the not the bris ikre tamim
Since
b'doroso.
he preserved this covenant, he was called Tamim in his generation, whereas all the others were not so, since they corrupted their ways. Okay, note 109, Zev.
109. Abraham was called Tamim, wholehearted, because he was circumcised, but not having undergone Priya, uncovering the corona, he was not called Tam, complete like Jacob. The preceding note. According to Midrashic tradition, Noah was born circumcised, i.e., without a foreskin. So, like Abraham, he is described as Tamim, wholehearted, unlike the rest of Noah's generation who acted corruptly, committing sexual sins. The concluding clause, since they corrupted their ways, is based on Genesis 6:12. God saw the earth and look, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways on the earth. On the sexual implication of corrupted its ways, see Bereshis Rabbah, Talmud Sanhedrin, Avodah Zarah, Chulin, Brachas, and other places. And also references for Noah being born circumcised. The full verse in Genesis 17, the above, the full verse in Genesis 6 reads, these are the offspring of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He was wholehearted in his generation. Noah walked with God.
Great.
But isn't Adam supposedly born circumcised?
No, Moses.
And Yosef,
No, Moses isn't born circumcised.
Yeah, Moses is born circumcised. I don't know about Adam. I don't
I
remember.
thought Adam was.
Maybe he was. Yeah.
don't they say Yosef too?
A lot of people were allegedly born circumcised according to various midrashim. My memory is not so good. So it goes in one, goes in the ear and just, it's out. So I don't remember, but it could be any of these people, I mean, but Adam wasn't circumcised, but Noah, and Moses was, and Noah was as well, according to this. Okay.
No, because there's that midrash that when Abraham finds accidentally the cave of Machpelah and wanders in and sees Adam, he doesn't, of course, know he's Adam, but then Adam shows him his circumcision.
Mhm.
And so then he knows who he is. I'm pretty sure that's a midrash about that.
Okay.
Al doksiv es echo Elokim hisalach Noach.
Page 91. Consequently, it is written, Noah walked with God.
V'chiman yachil lemei hachime.
Now, who can walk with him?
Elakoman the natir beris kadisha is davgas be shechinta v'shari
Well, anyone who preserves the holy covenant, the Shekhinah couples with him and settles upon him.
Uvikin kach tamim tihya im Hashem Elokecha.
Lest you shall be Tamim, wholehearted with the Lord your God.
Tamim tihya lubasar im Hashem Elokecha.
Tamim, and then with Havaya, in single coupling.
V'zivuga chada the kevin the natir beris da im Hashem
If
lahevi
he
v'lo
preserves the covenant, he will be with Havaya, inseparable from him. Two more lines. Of Abraham it is written,
Ba'avram ksiv hisalach lefanei v'heyei samim.
walk before me and be Tamim, wholehearted, Genesis 71.
Gezira the as kayama.
Sign of circumcision. Well, let's finish the page. Walk before me.
Hisalach lefanei mehacha the lo yihach gaber basar itza elakamaha.
We learn that a man should not walk behind a woman, but rather in front of her,
Orach kasher ihu.
which is the proper way.
V'aksiv hinei anochi sholech malach lefanecha
Again, it is
v'shalach.
written here, I am sending an angel before you in Exodus 23:20. I will
V'shalach
send an
lefanecha
angel
mal.
before you.
La'avram delo habegazir dachale
Let's
lakama.
read notes 110
Okay.
through 112. Zev.
Noah walked with God. Through circumcision and avoiding sexual sin, a male becomes tamim, wholehearted, and then is with God. On the connection between circumcision and one's relationship with the Shekhinah, see elsewhere in the Zohar. On the rhetorical question, now who can walk with him? See Talmud Sota. In the name of Rabbi Chama, son of Rabbi Hanina, what is meant by the verse, after Hashem your God shall you walk? Now, is it possible for a human to walk after Shekhinah? Has it not already been said, for Hashem your God is a consuming fire? However, this means to walk after the attributes of the Blessed Holy One. As he clothed the naked, so shall you clothe the naked. The Blessed Holy One visited the sick, so shall you visit the sick. The Blessed Holy One comforted the mourners, so shall you comfort the mourners. The Blessed Holy One buried the dead, so shall you bury the dead. And then there are a number of references. 111, walk before me and be tamim, wholehearted. This divine directive is soon followed by the covenantal command of circumcision. The exact progression of the verse is soon clarified. Genesis 17:1 reads, walk in my presence, or before me, and be tamim, wholehearted. 112, walk before me. From here we learn Zohar pictures Shekhinah, the divine female, saying to Abraham, walk before me. This implies that one should walk before a woman, not behind her, so as not to stimulate his lust. Yet the notion that Shekhinah follows behind seems to be contradicted by the verse in Exodus that describes an angel who goes before the Israelites, since this angel is identified with Shekhinah. See Talmud Brachas, a man should not walk behind the woman on the road, even his wife. On the angel in Exodus as Shekhinah, see Ramban on Exodus and Zohar elsewhere. The full verse in Exodus reads, here I am sending an angel before you to guard you on the way and to bring you to the place that I have prepared. The other verse in Exodus reads, I will send an angel before you and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite.
Okay, thank you. Page 92.
La'avram delo habegazir dachale lakama.
Abraham was not yet circumcised, was pushed in front.
Va'aldalog siv hey tamim b'yisalach
So
lefanai.
it is not written, be tamim and walk before me, but rather walk
Ela hisalech lefanai delo yeos ant achete tamim.
before me. There's no and. Be tamim and walk before me. It's just walk before me. For you are not worthy until you become tamim. Similarly, all of them.
V'chein bekulu kevan de barnash tamim v'natrele miyad hi lekame b'iyu abasra. Kosher iyu lada.
Once a person is tamim and preserves it immediately, she is in front and he is behind. He is worthy of this. Regarding deficiency, what is written, for he has turned from behind me. Okay, note 113.
Abraham, who was not yet circumcised. Before Abraham was circumcised, he went in front of Shekhinah, as indicated by the beginning of the verse, walk before me. Once he was circumcised and became tamim, he was worthy of walking behind Shekhinah, even though normally a man should not walk behind a woman. When a person falls into a state of moral deficiency, he has turned from behind me. That is, he moves or is moved from the worthy position of being behind Shekhinah to being in front of her. The verse in Shmuel reads, I regret that I made Saul king, for Shav Mecharai, for he has turned back from me, and from my words, and my words he has not fulfilled. Here the phrase Shav Mecharai is construed as he has turned from behind me. For various interpretations of this paragraph and the following ones, see Or Yakar, Solam, and Matzak Midrash.
Okay, great. We continue.
Noach gazir hava v'samim.
Noah was circumcised and tamim, wholehearted.
Priya lo hava be.
Yet he did not include the priya.
Ubegin de lo hava be priya maksiv es ha'elokim v'lo achar elokim.
he did not, what is written, Noach walked with God and not behind God.
L'kama lo hava, begin to have a gazer. L'achora lo hava, begin to lo
He was
ispera.
not in front because he was circumcised. He was not behind because he was not circumcised. He was not uncovered because he had not become uncovered.
Eich hava es
So how was
Elokim,
he with God next to him?
samach lo, v'lo
Yet he
yachal
could not
istakol
gaze
ilav.
upon his face since he was not that worthy. Okay, note 114.
So is the significance of being behind because then you can see? And sort of if you're on the side, then your sight is peripheral vision, which is not really vision because it's peripheral vision. It's like already, it's like a nick. It's a nicked vision by just by the fact that we describe it that way.
Yeah, well, let's read the note. Let's see what the note says. Zev.
114. Noah was circumcised because he was born circumcised. He was tamim, wholehearted, and deserved to walk with God, which is greater than walking in front of God. However, since he did not undergo priya, he was not worthy enough to walk behind God, nor could he gaze upon him. On Noah's being born circumcised, see the above note.
So walking behind represents stimulation. But not God walking behind you means you don't get to get excited by God. That's because he didn't have the priya. Okay. Let's go on.
Yisrael ksiv, Hashem holech
Israel is
lifnehem.
written, God or Havaya was going before them by day in a column of clouds to lead them on the way, and by night in a column of fire.
Kivan the Amr Yisrael, hamibli en kavarim b'Mitzrayim.
As soon as Israel said, is it that there's no graves in Egypt, that you took us out to die in the desert? Facetiously.
Kitov lana avodas Mitzrayim.
It would
Kivayachol
have
is
been better for us to serve Egypt. The mind weakened as it were. So it is written, the angels of God was going before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. So when God is behind us, although it would sound like, wow, isn't that amazing? You're in front of God. Actually not, because you don't get to God. You would like to see God in front of you. Okay, note 115.
Of Israel is written, as the Israelites were leaving Egypt, they were worthy enough for God to go before them. But when they were trapped at the Dead Sea with the Egyptians right behind them, they lost faith and complained bitterly. This weakened the divine mind and caused Shekhinah, the angel of God, to move from before the camp of Israel to a position behind them. On Israel's effect on God, see Eicha Rabbah in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, son of Rabbi Shimon. When the people of Israel enact the will of the omnipresent, they strengthen heavenly power. As it is said, in God we generate strength. When the people of Israel do not enact the will of the omnipresent, they weaken, as it were, the great power of the one above. As it is written, the rock that bore you, you weakened. The word tashid derives from the root nun shin hey, to forget, and the simple meaning of the verse in Deuteronomy is, the rock that bore you, you forgot. However, according to this midrashic reading, the word means you weakened based on the root taf shin to be weak. On the radical notion of weakening God, see Sifrei, Deuteronomy, Vayikra Rabbah, and a number of other sources. On the tragic consequences of Israel's lack of faith at the Red Sea, see Al-Nakawa, Menarad HaMe'or, one should never open his mouth for Satan, lest sin bring about the fulfillment of his words for evil, i.e., one should never utter ominous words, thereby providing an opening for Satan and inviting disaster. The generation of the desert said, you took us to die in the desert, and so it was decreed upon them. As it is said, in this desert they shall come to an end, and there they shall die. On the saying, one should never open his mouth for Satan, or the saying that one should never open one's mouth for Satan appears in Brachos and in Ketubos, in the name of Rabbi Shimon, son of Lakish, and Rabbi Yossi. The full verse in Exodus 13 reads, Hashem was going before them by day in a column of cloud to lead them on the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. Exodus 14:11-12 reads, they said to Moshe, is it for lack of graves in Egypt that you took us to die in the desert? What is it that you have done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Is this what we told you in Egypt? Isn't this what we told you in Egypt, saying, leave us alone that we may serve Egypt, for it is better for us to serve Egypt than to die in the desert? Exodus 14:19 introduces the description of the splitting of the Red Sea. The angel of Elohim, who was going before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them, and a column of cloud moved from behind them and stood behind them, and came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel, and there was a cloud in the dark that lit up night, and one did not draw near the other at night. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Hashem drove the sea with a mighty east wind all night, and he turned the sea into dry ground, and the waters were split.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up for now, but I just wanted to, we're doing a day of learning on Sunday. It's Shlomo's yard site coming up, but it's gonna be a day of learning about Reb Levi Yitzchak Barditchev. So I want to encourage everybody. It's from 10 to 2, but even if you can only do an hour or two of it, we have great presenters, including 2 women scholars, Sharon Flato and Shimona Zukernik, and Shlomo Katz from Israel, and myself. So if everyone could participate in some way, it's $10, but if that's an issue for anyone, just let me know. Okay.
What's the date, Rabbi?
It's this Sunday.
And
It'll be on Zoom, but you have to make a reservation.
Yeah, I already made a reservation. Someone called me, but I don't remember getting a link. Is there going to be a link sent out?
Yeah, you should have gotten the link. I'm sorry if you didn't. Maybe email Melissa at the Carlebach Shul. You're the best email to send it to you at.
Okay.
Otherwise, she will send it to whatever she's got. Yeah.
Okay, so just is there a link for Melissa?
It's Melissa at the Carlebach Shul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is this little piece just at the end, is this maybe also an explanation of Tashema and Tachazi, like the difference between Zohar and Talmud? Like Zohar, as we see, the Shekhinah, and maybe Talmud, Gemara were in the back. We're sort of just hearing.
Talking about
We're in the front, I mean. Like this last piece of the Israelites, they sin. So maybe that's sort of at a kind of a similar sort of concept. Tachazi is we get to see from behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Zoharinic sort of status.
Okay.
And
Good. Okay, good. That's good. If you
that's a wrap.
Then you're good.
Yeah.
So now we know that watching the leaves turn colors is a Zoharic thing. So go out there and see some leaves turning colors and see stuff that nobody's seen before.
Amazing what we can see if we just want to.
Exactly.
Yes. Don't be sightless among miracles.
I mean, it is an amazing, beautiful time of the year to know. There's such a beautiful Kutzker, right? The Mishnah, Pirkei Avos says, whoever is mafsik mishnato, whoever interrupts their study and says mana ilan zeh, or how beautiful is this tree, or how beautiful is this field, is it's like they forfeit their life. So the Kutzker says, whoever makes a hefsek, whoever sees a separation from the study and the field or the tree's beauty, that's Michai Ben Asher, somebody who thinks that the Torah is in a book and the world is not Torah, the world is not godly. That's the person who the Kutzker flips it
Right,
on.
reverses it.
Great.
That's what I saw someone said this about the Shulchan Aruch about saying Slichot the whole month of Elul, or a couple of other times it's and the Ramah says V'anu
lo no hagen kain. So we typically say, no, we don't do that. Like we don't say Hallel on the German custom. And so the Hasidic interpretation was a lament. And unfortunately, we don't say Slichot the whole Elul. We unfortunately don't get to say Hallel, on at davening on the nights of Pesach, and Svard, they do. So it's like reminds me of that.
Good, good. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah.